Somebody's got a little bit of feedback coming through. I just wanted to let you know.
Here, anybody. All right, we're letting people come in from the weight room. All right, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, well, I guess good afternoon, everybody. It's 12:01. My name is Maria Thacker-Gothi, and I'm President and CEO for Georgia Bio. For those of you not familiar with us, we're the Life Sciences Trade Association that works to support advancing life sciences here in the state of Georgia, and we work closely with our national partners, Bio, Pharma, and AdvaMed as well. We are an organization that works to support economic development growth in the industry in the state. We do a lot of policy, government affairs work to support good policies to continue to grow the sector here. And we also run a STEM institute that works to improve our workforce and grow our workforce. So we have a strong pipeline for our companies here in Georgia and those who are considering Georgia. Additionally, we host a lot of events, and a little over a week and a half ago, we hosted our largest annual conference, the Georgia Bio Innovation Summit, and we welcomed over 600 people from across the state and country, and frankly, world. We had a handful of international attendees too. So thank you to everybody who participated in the Bio Innovation Summit this year. It was a huge success. It was a long 3 virtual days, but we appreciate everyone's support, and we thank all of our sponsors. Those that did participate, you should have received a survey. Please take a few minutes to complete that. Next year, at least the first probably 3 to 6 months, will remain virtual, and we'd love your feedback to understand how we should approach the 2021 year, which will likely remain a little relatively virtual, quite frankly. Additionally, another housekeeping item is awards nominations. We are taking awards nominations officially and for our awards committee to consider at the end of the year and in early January for selection. We are looking for unique innovations in research. We're looking for emerging young leaders, whether in universities or in a company. We're looking for deals of the year, acquisitions, sales, significant raises. So, and really many other things, and then just community leaders that are working to advance the community either in your neighborhood and in your community or for the entire state. So please take a couple of minutes to visit our website and submit a nomination. And before we put into the program, the last thing I want to mention is our purchasing program. All of our member universities and companies and quite frankly, even service providers can take advantage of many of our programs, whether that's buying lab supplies or getting office supplies or shipping with UPS. We provide very aggressive discounts for that. And many of our incubators companies, in fact, take advantage of this across the university system. If you have any questions about that, please reach to us through our website again, or you can reach directly to Christina Forbes, who I think most people know at this point, but you can find her information on our website. So again, don't forget to take advantage of your membership for those, especially within the universities, because all the universities are members, and at our companies as well. So today we're very excited to showcase one of our larger regions, Augusta, Georgia. So the Board of Regents defines Augusta University as Georgia's health, sciences, and medical college. So with locations throughout Augusta and its satellite campuses in Athens, Albany, Rome, and Savannah, the university's 10 colleges and schools have truly a statewide impact in Georgia. And I'm proud to say AU's been a member for many decades now, and we're very grateful to everyone who's joining us today from the university to showcase innovations happening coming out of this great university. So before I pivot to introduce our moderator for today's session, I want to do a couple technical reviews. We do have slides throughout this session today, so you'll see little heads of our speakers quite often. We do have a number of speakers, so I welcome a little grace, please, as we transition from speaker to speaker, and I'm sure Chris will navigate this seamlessly. And if you have questions that we will try to take 1 or 2 questions after each panelist, we will hold the bulk of the questions till the end. So please submit at the bottom of your screen any questions at the Q&A button, which is right there at the bottom of your screen. And if you can note who it's for, which company, that would be really helpful for Chris, so we can just navigate because we have so many companies. So with that, I'm very pleased to introduce Dr. Chris Mckinney, Associate Vice President for the Office of Innovation Commercialization at Augusta University. Chris sits on our board, and he's a powerful leader within our community, and he's actually chair of our awards committee. At AU, he runs the Life Sciences Business Development Center, and this center provides labs, offices, equipment, and common areas dedicated to incubating innovative startup companies. So with that, I'd like to turn this over to Chris. Chris?
Maria, thank you so much. Thank you for putting this together today and for letting us shine a bit of a spotlight, in this case, on incubator companies right here based out of Augusta University. So glad to have everybody here attending with us. So glad to have our companies here as well. Maria's done a nice job of introducing.
Shape and develop critical thinkers, creative doers.
Someone's on hold. Maria's done a nice job of introducing AU and kind of setting the stage. What I would like to do without further delay is move us into our first company, which will be Augdimer, based right here in our incubator. Christina, if you want to, there we go. Great, thank you. And Dr. Vincent Robinson.
My slide is covered here a little bit. Let me get this, make my screen smaller. Okay. Good afternoon, folks. I'm Vincent Robinson, and Augdimer was formed about 5 years ago, but we really got into high gear when we got our NIH funding through the STTR mechanism. We have a new patented D-dimer assay. And the reason why this is so exciting for us and the company, and for, we believe, clinical medicine in general, is that the current D-dimer test is not perfect. In fact, it is not unusual to hear clinicians say, I don't want to order the D-dimer because if it's positive, what do I do with it? And that's because although the test has good sensitivity, it has poor specificity. And hence, the test cannot be used for screening. The role that the test has been relegated to is to a rule out. So if you go to the emergency room and it's negative, then you probably don't need much more testing. Or you look for alternate diagnoses other than fibrin-rich clots. So we came through with our new patented D-dimer, which showed improved specificity. And as a result, the positive predictive value was greater than 90% in our pilot studies. It maintains the negative predictive value, which we have seen with the old D-dimer, or the current D-dimer, we should put, for true clots. So this really bridges a huge gap, which now makes the D-dimer test available to us for screening purposes. So potential uses of this in clinical medicine. Cardiac thromboembolism is a big area. In fact, it's composed, if you look at these two, the number 2 and number 3 below cardiac thromboembolism, those are really the two agents we're worried about. Let's talk about AFib first. Atrial fibrillation. We currently use what we call evidence-based medicine. That's a very highfalutin term, but really it is average medicine. Really, you're saying that if 1,000 people have AFib with these clinical characteristics, you expect, 5% or 10% of them to have this is certainly not the way to practice personalized medicine. In fact, I can bring a case I had where there was one person when I was doing the wards recently who came in with a CHA2DS2-VASc score of 1, which means they could be treated or not treated. They could just be placed on aspirin and that would be okay. However, he came into the floor just with right flank pain, and we noticed that his creatinine had bumped just briefly and went back to normal. They did a CT scan, non-contrast in the emergency, saw his kidneys looked okay, normal thickness of the cortex, normal size of the kidney, and said he was fine, no real kidney problems. Of course, I did a D-dimer on him, and in this case, the regular D-dimer was highly positive. So immediately we then went ahead and did the TEE, which showed that he had clots not only in his left atrial appendage, but also in his atrial septal defect. He had an atrial septal aneurysm. So then we went ahead and we did contrasted CT of his kidneys. And sure enough, there was classic multiple emboli to his right kidney. So it's very clear that for us to move forward, we need a better test than using the CHA2DS2-VASc score, which is really average medicine. Cryptogenic strokes is another area. And what people have been doing, they're looking for AFib, and in these patients, they're putting implantable loop recorders. If they see 10 seconds of AFib, is that enough to cause a stroke? And so they have all of those problems. Of course, with cryptogenic stroke, you can, and there's a body of evidence in the neurology literature showing that looking at D-dimer, it's a good marker for cardioembolic stroke, which constitutes a lot of the so-called cryptogenic strokes that occur right now. Of course, there's also institutional frail patients who it's very costly to bring them to the emergency room every time you think they have a deep venous thrombosis. And if you had a test with a better positive predictive value, you could certainly apply it and selectively bring in the ones who come up positive by this new test. Finally, very exciting is the fact that COVID came in with microembolic storms, which actually caused the organ failure throughout the body. There's a diffuse endothelialitis throughout the body, which ends up with clots in situ and microemboli. And we have found that D-dimer has come to the fore as something to diagnose this. And the International Society of Thrombosis and Hemostasis is actually using D-dimer to, even with its incomplete, poor specificity, is still very useful in triaging patients.
Vincent.
So it's exciting, and we'll take any questions at the end of this.
Quick question I'll throw at you before we move on. First of all, thanks for the overview. This is an exciting piece of work and an exciting company. Is this a kind of test, do you think it would be principally used in the hospital setting, or would it also be used in primary care physicians' offices?
Yes, there's no doubt in my mind, eventually we will move into the individual physicians' offices. People who have small desktop D-dimer testing machines would be able to utilize this test in the future, not right now. I think we'll start first in the hospital and then move to that tabletop model.
Great. Well, hey, thank you so much for giving us that overview. Christina, let's move on. And I'd like to introduce Dr. Steve Shu, the CEO and founder of Chemelix. Steve.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Steve Shu, and everybody calls me the green tea guy. I don't blame them, because we have been focused on green tea, benefits of green tea study for a couple of decades. And thanks to AU to give us opportunity, and also Georgia Bio to showcase our technology, our current focus. So we are a biotech company that originally formed in 2011. And then since then, we have several projects very successfully completed with clinical trial, phase 2 trial completed successfully, and developed several products on the market. And our current focus is, you look at on the left, is the new generation of the hand hygiene and disinfectant products. So why we call it the new generation, because this is so different than the previous hand hygiene and disinfectant products. Usually they are not very effective, and they also have some harmful material in there to kill some very hard to kill bacteria or virus. But now that we have natural, non-toxic, and especially non-drying formula for people to use, that for people to use it frequently, and they will see there's no harm to their skin, and actually they will see a cosmetic effect. However, they're very, very hard on the viruses, especially norovirus, coronavirus, and some bacteria like MRSA. They're all tested in the GLP lab tests. So because this formulation has been supported and R&D supported by the NIH, so very, very thankful to NIH support since 2016 all the way till now. So we've been focused on the disease prevention and treatment. So now these formulations are going to another stage to look at the bacterial spores like a C. diff. And NIH funding, there are multiple projects on R&D side. So we already have the technology and also protected by multiple US and international patents. And most interestingly or excitingly is that our product is already launched in September, and we received a very, very big welcome by the medical area, because we shipped to medical centers and we shipped to the surgical suites nationwide. We have a very, very good team, and you can see on the left side, it's called the Protective LLC. That is the company subsidiary of Comedics to operate on business development, to operate on shipping, marketing, manufacture, logistics. So we have a lot of demand for 2021, huge demand. So our growth will be exponential. So right now we even do not have too much room to receive order. So we only have like 20,000 gallons per month left for people to sign a contract with us. So that's the current condition, current situation that we have. And on the right side, we also have the compounds that have been tested for years and in vitro, in vivo, and in human clinical trial that can be used for different viral infections, because the compound has a very, very known mechanism. It's a multi-targeted mechanism action that to kill viruses. So it can be used in nasal, inhalational, and topical applications. And also, very importantly, I would like to stress is that we work with NIH very closely, and we have our compounds for the NIH to test for us. We already signed agreement, AU signed agreement with NIH, then they test the SARS-CoV-2 in vitro tests. And then we have received the first round of results, which is very, very promising. I cannot disclose because right now we're agreement. We cannot disclose at this moment until we get it, second round and then get the permission from the NIH to forget. So in summary, that we can say that we are on the run. We're on a good track for disease control and prevention, and also on the therapeutic front. And so financially, we're building our business model, and we grow our value very, very rapidly. And we will see our growth is gonna be really, really big potential next year. And also we have multiple drugs in the pipeline, multiple new products like professional sanitizer, spray, wipe, and bacteria spore formulations in the pipeline, and we have multiple NIH grant in the pipeline. So thank you so much, and thank NIH, thank AU, and all these people, the team in Protective LLC and the team in Comedics LLC, and thank you very much.
Steve, thank you so much. People watching your presentation may wonder, how long have you been at this? When did you first start Chemelix?
Comedics was formed in 2011, so this is the 10th year. And we know the Georgia Bio, we learned that most of the companies start up, they do not survive 5 years. So we were probably very lucky. But I have to stress, we get all this support from the state, the federal government, and we do not have any diluted investment. We only receive the undilutable investment from NIH in the terms of millions of dollars. So we are very fortunate that we are supported by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. So basically, Dr. Fauci is my boss.
Well, and a good one at that. And we thank you so much, Steve, for the presentation. And Christina, let's move to our next company, which is Cathade. And I believe Ward Broom, you're going to be presenting for Cathade today.
That is correct.
All right, sir.
Great. So thank you for having me today. And I'm Ward Broom, CEO of Cathade. And Cathade provides healthcare a simpler but superior solution for securing and maintaining central line catheters. So in the US alone, over 5 million central line catheters are installed per year for oncology treatment, emergency treatments, and numerous other healthcare applications. And these central lines dwell in patients for weeks or even months and are really critical for effectively delivering medications directly into the heart's bloodstream. The current standard of care for maintaining and securing central lines consists of 3 different products, and unfortunately is problematic. There are migrations or shifts in the catheter's position, which can reduce effectiveness and can lead to total dislodgement. The preferred method to detect these migrations, radiographic imaging, can subject the patient to harmful radiation. And finally, these migrations can cause arrhythmia, clotting, and even bloodstream infections. And bloodstream infections have a 25% mortality rate and cost healthcare billions every year. Cathade was born out of the firsthand pediatric ER experience of co-founder George Shu out of Augusta University Medical Center, and his desire to fix these problems associated with the current standard of care. So George engaged the help of his former Georgia Tech roommate and design engineer, Alan Zinn. I joined the company, my experience in the startup industry and with medical devices has been a really good fit for Cathade's leadership needs. And we also have 2 experienced advisors, Lou Malice, who's built multiple medical device companies, and Dr. Richards of Augusta, who contributes for his medical experience and network. So Cathade seamlessly replaces the current flawed standard of care with one cost-effective, easy-to-apply device. Cathade has a reliable full medical seal. It has better catheter securement. It includes a patented migration indicator, which helps you to avoid x-rays, because at a quick glance, you can understand and verify the status of the catheter. We also have plans for remote monitoring capabilities. So this is a $3 billion total addressable and growing market. We're currently registered with the FDA as a Class 1 medical device, and we've produced our first sterilized batches of product for trials, which are already in progress. And with these trials, we're gaining excellent usability feedback and we're creating early adopters. Our sales strategy will rely primarily on partnerships with distributors and manufacturers of catheter-related products, and we should be cash flow positive by the end of 2022. And finally, we have excellent opportunities for exits. A comparable exit occurred when Bard acquired StatLock in 2006 for $166 million with only 3% market penetration. And keep in mind, StatLock is one of the 3 devices which Cathade replaces. We are currently raising money on a convertible note. We're raising approximately $500,000, and I'm happy to discuss that and answer any questions.
Ward, well, thank you so much. This is an exciting story. And, you know, a question just comes to mind when you think about Cathay pulling together 3 existing technologies for one integrated solution. Do you think in 5 years, if this product's in the marketplace, you would pursue other products that have this same kind of characteristic of pulling together disparate solutions into a unified whole?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, George, who's the visionary here, already has ideas for multiple other applications. Our current product, our V1, is designed for adult applications. We're also looking at pediatric applications, as well as chest tubes, peritoneal dialysis applications, arterial catheters, and multiple other applications.
Great. Well, hey, thank you once again for that presentation. And let's move on to ChemMedImmune. Dr. Kevin Liu, are you ready to visit with us, Kevin? Not hearing you yet, Kevin. Are you on mute? Let me just mention while Kevin's getting off mute here that ChemMedImmune is in our incubator, literally down the hall from where I'm sitting right now. And Kevin's a very experienced researcher and scientist, but has had a strong entrepreneurial bent for some years and is doing some pretty exciting work, particularly around the oncology space. Kevin, are you with us now? Have a quick look.
Kevin, we see you trying to talk. We cannot hear you. I think it might be you need to select a different speaker just to play from. If you click on where the mute is, there's a little arrow. You should be able to select a different speaker. On the bottom left of your screen, there's a little arrow next to mute, and there's a select a speaker option, and there's likely a different
yeah. Can you hear me
Perfect.
now? Okay, good.
We hear you. Yep, we got you.
Thank you. You are good. My name is Kevin Liu. My company is ChemMedImmune Incorporated. We are located on the campus of the Augusta University in the Biosciences Incubator. So our market is primarily colorectal cancer and pancreatic cancer. So for everybody knows about the cancer immunotherapy, but for the majority of the colorectal cancer and the pancreatic cancer, they do not respond to the currently checkpoint inhibitor immunotherapy. So our goal is to develop a new immunotherapy antibody for colorectal cancer and pancreatic cancer. So our products to be developed is a humanized osteopontin neutralization antibody. So in the last few years, we have determined that the osteopontin so can compensate for the PD-L1 function in suppressing the T cell function. So we determined that osteopontin is another immune checkpoint. So based on this finding, so we have developed 4 mouse monoclonal antibody for neutralizing osteopontin. And we have already generated these 4 antibodies and we tested in the mice. And 2 of them worked very well in activating T cell, in blocking the tumor growth in tumor-bearing mice. So one of the 2 antibodies actually reacted with the human osteopontin. So we constructed with a company outside to humanize this antibody. And we just get the humanized antibody last week. So now we have a humanized open blocking antibody. So when the patent is from Augusta University, we are in the process of licensing this patent for the development. And then our development is supported by 2 NIH SBIR and then As you can see from here, we have 4 people in the company. In addition, we have 2 medical students. So one is Hannah. You can see from here the second publication. Actually, she just published a paper last week. And another student, William, he's also part-time in our company, and he has a paper reviewed and is under revision right now. So we are in the process of preparing for phase 2. We are working with Charles Ribo and working with another consulting firm to submit phase 2, hopefully by January this year and next year. Thank you for your attention.
Kevin, thank you so much for your presentation. A question is, I would offer is, what's your target in the coming years to get into the clinic with some of these therapeutics?
We already have a humanized antibody, so we are ready to go. But for the phase 1 trial, we need to finish the IND enabling study. So we have several meetings with a few companies, Charles Ribo, Veristar. These are the CROs. Some of them are the toxicity, some of them are regulatory for FDA. We have a meeting with the FDA set up already. So we are in the process of sending phase 2 in January next year.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again so much. And we'll move on to Gerologics. And I believe Dr. Mark Hamrick is going to be presenting. Mark?
Yeah, well, thanks, Chris and Maria and Christina for the opportunity to participate today. I'm Mark Hamrick, the co-founder of Gerologics, along with my colleague, Dr. Carlos Isales, who's the section chief of endocrinology here at the Medical College of Georgia. Our company focuses on what we see as the largest, fastest growing market in the US and around the world, and that is the population of older adults. So globally, the number of adults 65 and over will have increased to 200 million people by the year 2030 and over 400 million people by the year 2050. So the primary mission of Gerologics is to improve quality of life and independence among frail older adults by developing new drugs to prevent the age-related loss of muscle mass, a condition termed sarcopenia, which literally means wasting of the flesh. It's estimated that sarcopenia affects 1 out of every 3 individuals over the age of 60 and more than half of individuals over the age of 80. And this is a major healthcare concern as the muscle weakness that accompanies sarcopenia contributes directly to debilitating falls and bone fractures among the elderly. However, to date, there are no FDA-approved treatments for sarcopenia. And importantly, sarcopenia is a billable ICD-10 code. So treatments for this disease do qualify for provider reimbursement. We have thus far raised a little over $250,000 in non-dilutive funding through a phase 1 SBIR grant from the National Institute on Aging, as well as a phase 1 Venture Lab award from the Georgia Research Alliance. So we're very grateful to GRA in the state of Georgia for supporting this initiative. We're currently pursuing screens in aged mice to test compounds developed by our team that target a specific pathway in aging termed the kynurenine pathway, and this is all described on our website. We're looking to raise additional funds to support these preclinical studies in advance of a phase 1 clinical trial and a phase 2 SBIR application. So please feel free to reach out to us directly by email or via the website if you would like to work with us. Thank you.
Mark, thank you so much. Well, this is exciting because people are living longer lives and they want to live longer, healthier lives. And it sounds like you're really targeting that. Do you expect this? I mean, I'm thinking about when I was watching the TV last night, I saw a lot of news around and commercials around various medical treatments. Do you imagine this is the type of treatment in the future that would actually be featured to reach out to patients to try to pull in their interest?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a nice review paper a year or so ago that referenced muscle as the last undrugged organ system, and that, you know, for years we've had a number of drugs for osteoporosis. And, you know, what we've seen is that a major cause of fractures is not so much changes in bone density, but is a fall. And so really muscle is now being sort of the target for improving musculoskeletal health in older adults, with that goal towards preventing the fall, preventing disability, improving health span, and continuing independence among older adults.
Oh, that's great. You know, I've heard for years people will say, well, I had an older relative who fell and broke a hip. I've heard from medical professionals that in a lot of cases, what actually happened is their hip was breaking and they had a fall. So it sounds like if you could strengthen the muscle mass, you might be able to help the hip last longer.
Yes, and we look at it even more broadly as postural instability, and the overall sort of profile of frailty is what we're targeting.
Gotcha.
And frailty, people define in different ways, but it's really a combination of not only a loss of muscle mass, but a loss of muscle power and function. So challenges getting out of a chair, walking across the room, slow, unsteady gait, these sorts of things, which, we really see as a therapeutic opportunity.
Great. Well, Mark, thank you so much for overviewing Gerologics for us. And I'll next introduce Dr. Jinzhong Shi, who's the CEO of Genfinity Precision Medicine. Jinzhong?
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jinzhong Shi. I'm the professor at Augusta University, Director of the Center for Biotechnology and Genomic Medicine. I'm the founder and CEO of Genfinity Precision Medicine, a company, an innovation company that seeks to help you maximize your health and longevity. Many factors can influence your health and longevity, and these factors can be grouped into two major categories. Your genes that you inherit from your parents, and they usually do not change over your lifetime. And the modifier factors that you have control over. These modifiable factors include food, exercise, sleep, and environmental exposures, among many others. The interplay between the genes and the modifiable factors determines whether you have suboptimal health, what disease you may develop, and how long you may live. Genfinity Precision Medicine designs and provides laboratory testing services for panels of innovative biomarkers and to assess the critical modifiable factors and the sub-health status as risk factors for age-related diseases. Many of the age-related diseases have multiple defects, including chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, cellular senescence, protein modification, and tissue damage, and as well as deficiencies in very critical micronutrients, such as vitamin D and other vitamins, and also another very important molecules for life is called NAD, or nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide. The information that are provided by our tests can be used to make lifestyle changes so you can have a much healthier and longer life. Genfinity also plans to formulate and market personalized nutraceuticals that you need in one drink. And that has a lot of advantages because if you need multiple vitamins and multiple supplements to maintain your health. Our goal is to help you to rectify sub-health, to prevent age-related diseases, and also to improve the management outcome of any diseases that you may have. The ultimate goal is for you to live a much healthier and much longer life, and it can be well beyond your 10th decades. My personal goal is to live to 150 years, and I welcome every one of you to join me for my 150th birthday. Now, longevity is currently a $100 billion industry, and it's growing rapidly. It's expected to reach $600 billion by 2025, according to the Bank of America estimation. And it may become the largest industry soon after. So Genfinity has been supported by, it's a spin-off company from Augusta University and has been supported by Augusta University. And we are currently launching, we're pilot testing our product called Aging SOS. And you can order this test now on our website. You can use Georgia Bio 298 to get a 50% discount. And we are also raising capital to expand our marketing and our product line. If you are interested, please contact me on through email or through our website. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Shi. Thinking about your company and what you're doing at Genfinity Precision Medicine, do you expect to be going direct to consumer with your products as you go forward? Do you expect to go direct to the practitioner or both?
Very good question. So we have 3 channels for marketing, and we have a B2B approach. And we once we started our beta testing about 2 months ago, and we have already signed the 3 contracts with 3 different companies. And we can help companies like Genlogics and that Dr. Hamrick talked about. And these companies are working on longevity nutraceuticals or pharmaceuticals. And we can help them to identify the patient segment that can most benefit from their drugs or their nutraceuticals. And we can also help them to monitor the efficacy of their products. And this is our first channel. The second one is what I call the B2B2C, or third party that serve patients. And we also are ready to sign 2 partnerships in the coming weeks. And this is probably going to be our main channel for marketing. And finally, we will have a direct-to-consumer approach. And actually, this is already available. We are not advertising yet because we don't have the budget and personnel in place. Over the long run, and we do want to have a strong direct-to-consumer marketing. And most importantly, we want to get FDA approval for our test, and we want to offer this to patients who have various diseases. And this is also reimbursable by Medicare and by private health insurers. And once we get the FDA approval.
Great. Well, I thank you so much for the presentation and the overview of your company. As we head into our last but not least company, I want to mention that you'll see some themes here. I mean, this was not by design that these 7 companies could all help the same person, but it turns out that you'll see these threads going through the work that they are doing. And with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Darren Browning of Target Biotechnologies to tell us a bit about his company. Darren? You might be on mute, Darren. I'm not sure.
Darren, I think
Darren, I think you're having the same issue that the previous speaker had. Just unmute, click the little F button, and select a different speaker, and it should work.
Okay, how's that?
Perfect.
We got you.
Okay, sorry about that. So Target Biotechnologies is an early stage company, and we're focused on creating novel drugs to serve the unmet clinical needs of people that are living with gastrointestinal disorders. And so our current drug candidates are under preclinical development for two important conditions. The first is a treatment for chronic constipation. And while this disease isn't life-threatening, it's estimated to severely reduce the quality of life for up to 20% of the population. That's about 60 million people in North America alone. And every year, these people spend billions of dollars on over-the-counter laxatives, which are often inadequate, leading to millions of doctor visits. But the few prescription drugs that are available often have side effects and are typically not safe for use in children. So our second drug candidate is for colon cancer prevention. Every year in the United States, about 150,000 people are diagnosed with colon cancer, and those who survive typically undergo cruel treatments, including radical surgery, debilitating chemotherapy, and sometimes even radiation. So this is really a disease that you want to avoid getting in the first place. We spend, to this end, we spend in this country about $50 billion annually on colonoscopies, because that's about all we have right now to reduce our risk of getting colon cancer. But this procedure can miss some polyps. It also requires tough preparation for the patient, who also has to take time off of work, and it's not available to everybody who needs it. So Target Biotechnologies is developing better drugs to treat constipation that have fewer side effects. And we're really excited about our first-in-class agent for the primary chemoprevention of colorectal cancer in high-risk patients. So our strategy harnesses the power of a molecule called cyclic GMP in the layer of cells that line the intestinal tract. There's a large body of evidence showing that if you can increase the level of cyclic GMP in the gut lining, it's an effective treatment for chronic constipation, and it can reduce the risk of developing colon cancer. There's also some preclinical evidence in animals that demonstrates that it might also be useful as a treatment for ulcerative colitis. So at Target Bio, we're developing small molecules that can increase cyclic GMP in the intestine, but they're designed specifically to avoid leakage into the bloodstream. And this is important because drugs that enter the bloodstream often cause side effects and also subject them to drug-drug interactions. So targeting our drug candidates specifically to the gut lining will minimize side effects and make them safe for men, women, and children. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Darren. A question for you is, you're looking at reducing constipation without creating other adverse effects, but also you've talked about trying to prevent colorectal cancer. How do you get practitioners engaged with that effort?
Well, cyclic GMP is maybe the last 10 years. It's been elucidated as an important pathway in the gut, previously unrecognized, and it has different functions. The mechanism isn't fully understood, but for constipation, there are drugs that do this, but already they can increase cyclic GMP. And for a population of chronic constipations, they're very effective. But again, they're stuck with these side effects, which is often, severe diarrhea. And this is a problem. So our drugs increase cyclic GMP in a different way. This can be looked at as being more natural, so it avoids these side effects. For colorectal cancer, there's currently nothing that's FDA approved for the chemoprevention. So colonoscopy, this is good. They can go in there with a camera. If they see a precancerous polyp, then they can remove it by polypectomy. And so this is not preventing the formation of tumors, but it's pretty much written on the wall at this point that if you can increase cyclic GMP over a long time period in the gut lining, that it can reduce the formation of the polyps in the first place.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's good news to be looking forward to. And thank you so much for that presentation. Let's go ahead and just move into probably a couple questions here at the end. One that came in from one of our attendees was, and this I'll offer to anybody who wants to grab the jump ball, and that was, could you share with us any of your patent application stories, challenges, or lessons learned? Anybody, feel free to just unmute and talk. And if you don't, I will.
Vincent Robinson from Augusta. I would just go with lessons learned because I think one of the things you really need is to have an excellent patent lawyer. When we started on our journey, The patent lawyer was not communicating very well with us. And that certainly hurt our efforts, gave us more time, and poor outputs. And once we found a good lawyer who works with Chris at the moment, it was totally different, and things went smoothly from then on. You have to listen to your lawyer, and it's not a cheap process to go through it. It can be pretty expensive, but a good lawyer is worth every penny that you pay him, because he can save you a lot of grief down the road. That's all I have to say.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else want to jump in on that question? All right, let me throw another question, and this is again for anybody who would like to jump in. What is the biggest surprise you found in doing a healthcare related startup company?
Yeah, Chris, this is Mark. I'll chime in. I think, it's different depending on, what kind of technologies you're looking at. If you're, developing, say, devices versus diagnostics. But I think, for us, the amount of money that goes in up front to getting to clinical trials, what you're spending on, say, pharmacokinetics, toxicology studies, et cetera, for therapeutic development. It certainly has its challenges. I mean, there are great opportunities and great benefits, but it's definitely not, something to be taken lightly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it is a company, isn't it? It is a company. It's much different than direct research by itself. Another question that comes to mind is, does it help in the startups having access to an incubator such as we have here at AU compared to the alternative? What's your sense about that?
For us, it's been a great asset. I can say that we wouldn't be able to be where we are without that incubator. I think it's really key for your SBIR support, and there are a lot of great opportunities in the SBIR area, particularly in aging. So we're very grateful for it and are happy to have been able to utilize that resource.
Yeah,
I agree with Mark. The incubator has been extremely important for Genfinity precision medicine. And I really want to thank you, Chris, for all your effort.
Thank you.
I think it is essential in terms of SBR, STR, because one of the 5 criteria is the facility. Like we put in Augusta University incubator there, we have everything there. So we just score the 1, 2, the highest possible score.
Great.
Yes,
well, go ahead.
I was going to chime in there, Chris. It's something that all research universities should have. It certainly makes us competitive when we send in our grants, because it provides us with a footprint to start off with, which we can offer to get the companies started. And I mean, that's critical for all funding agencies. So without it, we wouldn't be nowhere. We thank you very much for doing this, and we only hope you get bigger and bigger as time goes by.
Well, thank you. Appreciate those comments. I'd like to bridge us back to Maria with a thought, and that is, we're talking a bit about this incubator at Augusta University that literally sits right in the middle of our research enterprise. And in fact, my office, my organization, my team lives here in the incubator. But I was thinking that, Maria, you might want to just take a second and make a plug for the work being done in downtown Atlanta that's coming online pretty soon.
Well, thank you, Chris. That's really kind of you. Despite the location, this is really just one hub that can connect us to places like what's happening out at AU and Augusta. more broadly. So at our conference, at the end of our conference, about 9 days ago on that Friday, we officially announced the launch of the Global Health Innovation District, which is a physical space that is going to include a significant amount of wet lab space, plus meeting and event space, and a way to bring together and catalyze our global health, life sciences, and health technology communities in one place. This will be in Midtown Atlanta. We announced that it is the old AT&T building, Tower Square. We've been working on this project for a little over 2 years now, so we're very excited about this announcement. I will state that it is a relatively soft announcement. We plan to do something a little bit more formal once we finalize these negotiations. The supporter report actually did a feature on this today. It came out. So I encourage you to go over to Maria Saporta's supporterreport.com website to check it out and learn more. But really what we're trying to do is create a central hub that not only shines a light here in Midtown where I sit, but across Georgia and frankly the Southeast region to really, and what's really we're catalyzing on is our unique capacity in global health with our relationship with CDC. Some of y'all may know that CDC is a big reason why Georgia Bio was founded 31 years ago. And we're grateful for our ongoing relationship with, frankly, our neighbors that work at the agency and their leadership during this crisis. Pivoting back to Augusta, thank you to everyone at Augusta, not only for participating today, but for your response to COVID. I know AU and the community at the health center out there has been especially a leader in our community here across Georgia to help respond to COVID, support the governor's task force in his response as well. And I look forward to continuing to see how that progresses as we continue to fight this pandemic. But Chris, it sounds like I don't think we had any more speakers come across in the chat. Chris's email is dropped in there if anyone does need to connect them from the panelist perspective. And to all of our attendees, if you want to connect with Chris, just reach to Christina or me. He's a great resource for the region out at Augusta. When we get through this pandemic, I do encourage you to also visit Augusta. Not only is it a wonderful city, but the complex has changed so much in recent years. It's really quite impressive to see how AU has developed. Thank you to all of our speakers today. It was really outstanding to hear from so many wonderful companies and people really working on outstanding technologies and other innovations. I don't think I have anything else other than to remind everyone to submit for awards nominations. We will start pushing those emails out after the Thanksgiving holiday. And Christina, I think that's it. Nothing else for me to make sure I didn't forget anything. Okay.
Good.
Great. All right. Well, I wish everyone a safe and healthy Thanksgiving, hopefully at home, if we're following public health guidance. And yes, just remember to stay safe and well throughout this holiday season. And do reach out to us if you have any questions. Christina and I are here to support all of our companies and researchers, as well as the rest of my team. And with that, I wish you all a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Chris.